So if you're having troubles connecting, just let us know, and then we can try to help you. But in the meantime, let's carry on with our discussion for today. So today we're going to be discussing section 4 of the 7410 module, which is basically discussing IPv4 and IPv6. We'll be discussing DNS, and we'll be discussing DHCP. And just as a ground rule, we ask a lot of questions. We have debates sometimes. We have disagreements sometimes in the Hangouts. So feel free to talk. If you disagree with something, feel free to express your disagreement. But remember that you may be hacked to prove it. So that's why we're connecting to the server. So there's no way of escape. So whatever you say, you may be asked to prove it. Okay, so first thing, we'll start with DNS first of all. I know all of us are probably familiar with DNS, but if you just go and just give your understanding of DNS. So who wants to go first? So Stefan, you want to go first?
Well, regarding DNS, as far as I would say internal DNS is concerned,
Yeah.
I'm quite good.
Mm,
But when we talk about external DNS,
yeah.
I'm a bit confused, and I don't get it how it goes and how it just proceeds to resolution.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
nice one.
So
Nice one.
yeah, yeah.
What about you, Marco? What's like your current understanding of DNS and stuff like that? I don't think Marco has a mic, so you can type in the chat window if you don't have a mic. And Ionica, what about you? I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is your name pronounced Ionica?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, yeah, nice. So what's your current understanding of DNS? So to Ionica, so what's DNS to you?
I know the definition that goes with primary classes, which is what the DNS does.
Yeah,
It translates uh, names into IPs. So whenever we write an HTTP address
mm-hmm.
on the address bar,
Yeah,
it actually goes to an IP,
yeah,
and that's what the DNS does. Without the DNS, we would have to write IPs in the address bar.
yeah. Okay, nice one. Very nice one. Really, really nice. I like that. So that's just basic, the philosophy behind it. So what about you, Francis? So Francis, don't worry if your mic is not working, feel free to type. So yeah, Marco is right. Marco said converting IP to name and reverse. Nice one. So you can type if the mic is not working because we still can hear you for some reason.
Yeah,
And
can you hear me now?
nice, very nice. We can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so if you go ahead and give your understanding of DNS.
Yeah, so basically DNS it resolves like the IP address to something that we humans can understand.
Yeah.
So let's say like google.com. If you type google.com, the DNS servers will change that word google.com to an IP address, which like is the machine language.
Yeah. Nice one.
So that's what a DNS server does.
Yeah. Nice one. Okay. And what about you, Hali? Like, what's your understanding of DNS? Is Ali still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think in my idea, DNS is is a service for resolving the addresses to the IP addresses.
I'm controlling
Uh,
the mouse. Anyone controlling the mouse, sorry. Oh, carry on, Ali. Carry on.
do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I was saying that in my idea, DNS is a service in the servers that works through the TCP/IP communications. So it's based on IP addresses. For example, in the network, each computer called with an address. We call it IP addresses. So this must be unique address on the network. So every transmission and every transactions in the network should be go through with the TCP/IP. So, in my idea, DNS is a service that translate the for example, English language, the addresses for the websites or anything, applications, which doesn't have any IP names. DNS works is translate those to the addresses like in my idea IPs and something that can be recognized by the network language.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, nice. Okay. So I think the first thing that we'll probably get someone to do, we need a volunteer now, is DNS is it's a client server type of application. So in other words, you have a server and you have a client. So the server goes to ask the client for information, and the server gives the client the information. So what that means is that you need to configure the server that clients will be talking to. And before you can configure that server, the first thing you need to do is you have to install that server first of all. So does anyone want to volunteer to install DNS for us on this server on launch server 1? But we have a requirement. So the requirement that we started like just a few weeks ago is this: is whatever you're going to be doing, you're going to be doing it using PowerShell, and you're not going to be using Google. So anyone wants to volunteer to install DNS for us on this server 1? So you install DNS for us using PowerShell and without using Google. Many people are wondering, is it possible to do that without using Google? Just watch our first PowerShell Hangout. You'll find out how to do it without using Google. Stefan is smiling, so I know Stefan knows what to do. So Stefan, if you install DNS for us without using Google, so just figure out the command by yourself. It's on everything is on the server.
Yeah.
You know what to do already.
Yep.
So what we'll do is that when someone is controlling the mouse, then we'll let him control the mouse and do all the stuff that he's doing. Yeah. Good one. So what we'll do is that while Stefan is trying to figure that out, the rest of us will carry on discussing DNS. So the first thing I'll probably ask is this. There are two ways when you're deploying DNS on a server. There are two ways that you're going to be deploying it. You're going to be deploying it either integrated with Active Directory or as a separate server. So does anyone know what the difference is between those two? Between if you're deploying DNS integrated with Active Directory or you're deploying DNS as a separate server?
I think the major difference between the integrated DNS in the Active Directory.
Ali, you were here yesterday. You know.
No, I wasn't.
You were. You heard when we were discussing integrated DNS. I think you've joined at that time, right? Have you not joined? No.
Maybe
okay.
After that.
Maybe after that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Okay. If you want, I can give my turn to the others.
No, it's all right. Carry on. I thought you were here when we were discussing it yesterday. TeamViewer is blocked. What's that?
It looks frozen.
Oh,
it's my connection.
Maybe your connection. It's responding.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. Yeah. Carry on, Ali. Sorry.
Okay. I think the major difference between these two is when you run DNS in the integrated mode with the Active Directory, it has the records. It gets the records of from the Active Directory. For example, all the user accounts are stored in the Active Directory folder. And when you use the integrated mode, the DNS have the access to the Active Directory. But when you use in an individual server, it needs another authentications and process like authenticating to get connect to the Active Directory to get the records. So I think, in my idea, one of the main issues here is the speed of connectivity and redundancy and the quality of the connections. The performance it will be different between these two.
Okay. So does anyone have any other viewpoint? Francis, what do you think? Difference between Active Directory integrated DNS or DNS server as a separate server?
I was actually struggling with my team viewer this side.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. No problem.
Yeah, but I'm connected now.
Yeah. So, Stefan, do you still have access? Can you still move the
Yeah.
server? Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry.
No,
Carry on.
it's blocked from time to time.
I think someone is trying to get the capture of this screen, and TeamViewer always give me an error message that you can capture from the screen now at this moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Same
please,
for me.
and if anyone is taking the capture for now, I mean, this is recorded, so there's no point. You can always take the capture from the recording later. So maybe just so we can carry on for now. If we just hold on, and you can take the capture from the recording. It will be up on the community page. So Francis, carry on. So what's your opinion? So now we have two methods of deploying DNS. So your manager has called you into the office. Your manager is like, yeah, we're doing this new project. We're calling it Project DNS Upgrade. We're upgrading all our
Yes.
DNS servers from server 2003, 2008. Now, a consultant was telling me that we can either deploy DNS using Microsoft, we can either deploy it as Active Directory integrated, or we can either deploy it as a separate server. So your manager is now like, nah, you're the system admin, advise me. What's the advantage of using one or using the other? What would you advise me to do? Should I use the Active Directory integrated one? Should I use the separate DNS server? So what's the differences between the two? What's the advantage or disadvantages of either?
While connection gets unlocked. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, carry on. Someone wanted to say something.
Okay. I think like using the separate server would be the best option.
The separate server would be the best option. So what's the advantage of
Yeah,
So go ahead, explain that to us. So why would that be a best option to use a separate server rather than using Active Directory integrated?
Actually, let's see. I think because like if it's on a standalone server, I think it will be like very easy like to maintain and stuff. Like when you need to do something on the DNS server itself, you don't have to like it won't affect the Active Directory.
Okay. So Harley has given his own opinion. So Harley, which one would you recommend? Will you recommend Active Directory integrated, or will you recommend DNS as a separate server?
I think. Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think the best option is Active Directory integrated with
Why?
DNS.
Why?
Because when you use this method, DNS doesn't create any new record in the server and store the records in the Active Directory folder. So when the security matters, when the bandwidth matters, and better administrating is our reason to do that. I think the option using the Active Directory integrated zones is better because it doesn't need any other communication with another server. So the security is better, and just DNS uses the databases that stored in the Active Directory folder.
Okay, so you mentioned something which we'll come back to. You said it stores it in within Active Directory. So where does it store it within Active Directory?
Excuse me.
I said you mentioned something. You said if we use Active Directory integrated, it stores it within Active Directory. So the question now is, so where does it store it within Active Directory?
Um, the Active Directory folder is in the Windows in a the Active Directory stores its records to a folder when we want to install it. I think and the folder is in system folder when we want to install it. It gives me options that even we can change the address of that folder. So when we use the DNS integrated zones by using the Active Directory, because you know when you use the DNS and when there is some request, when we send some request to the DNS will create some zones, some by default by itself. But when you use the Active Directory integrated mode, DNS doesn't need to create those zones because they are stored in the Active Directory and just DNS uses them. But the folder, I think, in the system, it's in the system folder.
Okay, so Ionica, what's your own take on that? So two methods of deploying DNS. You have Active Directory integrated, you have a separate DNS server. So which one would you recommend and why would you recommend that?
In terms of the load,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is better. It is best to separate Active Directory by itself on the server and DNS on a separate server. I think this is my first thought
Okay.
because of the load they carry. If it's a network with a lot of computers, then and DNS is going to be busy, then it's best to separate these two. I think. I'm not sure.
What about you, Marco? What's your thoughts? What's your thought on it, Marco? So is anyone still doing any screen capture, screen recording, anything like that? Because people are still struggling with accessing the server. The thing with this recording is that with this Hangout is that it's being recorded, so there's really no need to do that. There's really no need to record it or to do anything like that. Because it's recorded, we're going to be posting it up anyway, and it's stopping Stefan from doing what we want him to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm still locked. Yeah, I'm still locked.
So Stefan, do you have access? Do you have access now? Can you move?
No, no, it's still frozen.
So what are you trying to do? You're trying to, okay, what I'll do is I'll disconnect, then we can all reconnect again. So let me do that.
Okay.
So I'll post the ID again, guys. What I'll do is let me just go this one. Yeah, just close session list. And then let's generate a new ID. Sorry, or a new, yeah, okay. So the ID is still the same, so I'll post that for you guys. Sorry about that, guys. I think, hold on. Is someone still connected? That I was the only one
I'm
connected.
still connected. I'm still connected.
I was concerned. I was like, hold on, because I thought I disconnected everyone. Okay, I'm moving the mouse now. Let me move the mouse a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Then what I'll do is um, yeah, session list. Okay, so I'll just disconnect, close everything.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think I know what to
Okay.
do. I know what to do now. So there's actually an option in TeamViewer to allow control just to one person. So I think anyone that's working on the server will just allow control to the person. So guys, you can, sorry for all the issues. So if you connect again, so that's the ID. I've got a new passcode now, and the new password is this.
New password. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a new password. So what I'll do is once you connect, uh, Stefan is currently working on the server, so I'll just allow control to only Stefan. So yeah, so I can see someone. Yeah, so just let me know if you get
Yep.
any issues with the connection. So here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Before we let Stefan, we'll allow you to continue shortly. Let me quickly bring this one. Let's go. Yeah, I'll just move the mouse. I'll move the mouse, guys. Just
Yep.
go. Stefan, so which one are you? Are
Um,
you 907655?
no. It's me. Hold on. Check for my house. Mine is 792
792. Okay, yeah.
183. Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just, at the moment, I'll remove allow control for everyone else apart from you. So when we want to give anyone else control, we just do that. So make it easier that way. So I think that will be much better. So Stefan, you still have control, right? Can you still move the mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Nice. Okay. So
Still
I'll
working.
bring the server up for you, and so you can carry on with your installation of
Yes.
DNS. Okay, nice one. So here's the thing, guys. I've not heard Marco's answer. So Marco, what's your own thought on Active Directory integrated, and what's your thought about it? Active Directory integrated or DNS as a standalone server? What's your thought about it, Marco? Because I know you usually have good thought. So here's the thing, guys. The thing is, actually, the recommendation is to use Active Directory integrated, like Ali said. That's the recommendation. And this is the reason for it. In times past, like in the olden days, when the concept of a directory first started, when someone was like, okay, let's have this concept where we'll have a single server. And this single server will be managing the users and devices within our network. So when that concept first came up, what happened was when that concept first came up, um, they had they were like, okay, so if this server is the one controlling all the servers in our environment, if that server should go down, we're in trouble because now all the machines in our environment can access what they need to access. So they thought about it, and then someone came up with an idea. Okay, let's have this thing called a single master replication. So what that means is that we'll have one server. It will be the primary domain controller. So one machine will be the primary domain controller. And then we'll have other machines, we'll call them the secondary domain controllers. So any change that you make on the primary domain controller will apply that change and then send that information to the secondary domain controller so they have a copy of that information. Now, the downside to that is you can't make a change on your secondary domain controller. You can only make it on your primary domain controller. And you can only have one primary domain controller at a time. So that still leaves you in a bit of trouble because if the primary domain controller goes down, now, even though your network will keep functioning, but now you can't make any changes as an administrator. So they made a way such that if the primary domain controller should go down, the secondary domain controller can be promoted, one of the secondary domain controllers can be promoted to become a primary domain controller and take over that job. Now, frozen again, so something is probably wrong with TeamViewer. Sorry about that, Stefan. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so the primary domain controller. So let me go to the server and let's draw this out. So um, let's go. Paint is what we're looking for. And what we want to do is make this one really large. So again, remember that concept. That's like in the olden days. So now you have this one server, and then you have like all these other servers, all these other little servers. So this one will be the primary domain controller. Why this one will just be a secondary, this one will be a secondary, this one will be a secondary. Now, of course, you have a switch between them. So you have like me, let's say your little Cisco switch here, and all these machines are connecting to your switch. So this one is connecting to this switch, this one is connecting to this switch, this one is connecting to this switch. So when you come on this server and you go create a user called Ali, so this machine will create that user called Ali. But then the next thing that it's going to do is once it creates, so it goes, okay, I'll create this user called Ali. But after creating that user, it will go, so that in case I go down, this other user, so these other computers, we have that information too. What I'll do is I'll transfer this information. It's called replication. I'll replicate this information to this machine. I'll replicate this information to this machine. I'll replicate this information to this machine, so that if something were to happen and I were to go down, if Ali wants to log in, Ali can still log in using this domain controller. But the thing is that we can't go ahead and say, now we want to create another user called Francis. So we can't do that because we can only make changes on one of them. So that used to be the case like many years ago, till Microsoft decided like, okay, technology has improved more than that. All this is crap, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So then they created a new system. The new system is called multi-master. So what they mean by multi-master, what they're talking about when they say multi-master is now on your infrastructure, you can have a domain controller here. Then for backup reason, you have another domain controller. Then maybe you have a branch in China somewhere, you have another domain controller there. You have another branch in Germany, Australia, Canada, anywhere, you have another domain controller there. Now, all these domain controllers are masters. There's nothing like one is a master, the others are slaves. You make the change on the master, it replicates it to the slave. So that concept is gone. So now every single domain controller is a master, which means that as an administrator, you can connect to this server and create Ali here. You can connect to this server and create Francis here. You can connect to this server and create Aonika here. You can connect to this server and create Marco here. And what will happen is that, again, they still have a little switch between them. That's what's connecting them, So they still have a little switch between them. So all of them are connected to, let's just say, they have a switch, just for simplicity's sake. So they still have a switch between them. So what will happen is this guy will go, hey, I've got a new user called Francis, and transfer Francis account to this place, and Francis account to this guy here, and Francis account to this guy here. And this guy too can also go, hold on, me too, I have a new user called Ali, and transfer Ali's account here, and transfer Ali's account here, and transfer Ali's account here. You get the point. So the whole point is now you can make changes on all of them and they will all replicate with one another. The replication will keep going on. Yeah. So that's like the whole idea behind that. And the whole point, the whole reason, I got into the first machine. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem, Steven. Yeah, someone's chatting with me. Okay, yeah. So the whole point of this is the communication when this machine, let's call this machine DC1. Let's call this one DC2. Let's call this one DC3, and let's call this one DC4. Is that when DC1 is replicating to DC2, DC3, DC4, this communication is secure. It's encrypted. Let's say there were to be a malicious guy that plugs into here and decides, oh, I'm going to capture like this replication. I'll find out which user they're creating. You capture that data, you won't be able to get any tangible data from it because the communication by default is encrypted. So the reason why we're talking about that in relation to Active Directory is this. We're talking about we want to create DNS. Let's go to the server now. So if I go server one, we'll come back to how to do that by PowerShell, by the way. But let's just for illustration purpose, let's go server one, and let's add roles or features, and let's go next, 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 and let's select our DNS server, and let's go next. Now look at this. Can you see this? It says DNS server integration with Active Directory domain services automatically replicates DNS data along with other directory service data, making it easier. Hello, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry to disturb.
No
Can you
problem.
just maximize it?
Okay, yeah. Oh,
It's small.
the thing with this, let me see, because I think it's a resolution issue. So let me go screen resolution. Let's see if we can increase it a bit. Yeah, let's try to increase it. Keep changing. Is that better?
A bit small, but don't
It's too
worry. I will
small.
adjust my size.
Let me see. Is there a way
I can
to?
switch from my screen.
Oh,
No
actually,
problem.
let me do it this way. Let me go full screen mode. Is it better? No?
Oh yes.
It's better now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
nice one. Okay, so let's use this mode. So if you look at this one, it says things to note. It said DNS server integration with Active Directory domain services automatically replicates DNS data along with other directory service data, making it easier to manage DNS. Now, the meaning of that is this, because Microsoft has a way of using like all these complicated words that make simple ideas that are really really simple and basic and make them sound really complicated and people are confused at the end of the day. What that really means is this, is that now you install Active Directory here, you install your domain controller here, you install DNS here also, you install domain controller here, you install DNS here also, you install Active Directory domain controller here, you install DNS here also. So what that means is that any changes that you make in DNS, it will also along when this one is like, oh, I have this new user called Francis that I want to replicate to all of you. You say, by the way, I also have a new host name that has an IP address of this that I want to replicate with you. So when it's replicating your users and your computers with other domain controllers, it's also at the same time replicating your DNS. And by default, the communication is secure. But the thing is, if you go by yourself and you have, I have my domain controller here. So let's call this DC1. So I have my domain controller here, DC1. And I also have this one here that I'm like, okay, I'm just going to install DNS on you. Here's the issue with that is that let's say you now decide, oh, I need to protect my DNS server. Secure. Is it by DNSSEC? No, not at all. So DNSSEC is something completely different that we'll talk about later. So the secure communication. So now we're talking about Active Directory replication. But the thing is, if you make, by the way, if you want to ask questions, you can unmute yourself and ask questions. So if you make if you make DNS integrated with Active Directory, whenever Active Directory is replicating to other domain controllers, it also replicates in DNS. But if you have DNS separately, now if you now decide, okay, I have one DNS server here, I want to have another one for protection in case this one goes down, and you say, okay, this one will be DNS2. Now you have a lot of job to do, a lot of work to do, because the first thing you have to do is replication is not automatic. Now you have to go on this server and say, allow this server to replicate to you, and go on this server and say, allow this server to replicate to you. And the thing is, by default, that communication is not secure. So in other words, if someone were to stand in between them and hijack them, that guy can see the information of every computer and their IP addresses on your network. Now, if you're a hacker, that's like really useful for you because from computer name, you can probably figure out the computer that you want to attack. So this one says um, London Finance One. You're like, wow, that's where they store all the money information. you know, so just from that, you already know like lots of information. You know, maybe you have a computer on your network named CEO or CEO, PC1. It's okay, that's the computer for the CEO. That's the one I want to attack. So by default, it's not secure. So now, after completing your um your replication configuration, now you have to go back and now configure IPsec to secure it. So you have to go on this one and configure IPsec, and then go on this one and configure IPsec. So you're giving yourself like lots more work to do. So Microsoft's recommendation actually is for you to integrate Active Directory and DNS together. So that brings us to the basics of Active Directory. So Active Directory has two main folders. So what are the folders? So Francis, you want to go for that? So Active Directory has two main folders. So what are those folders? Yeah, they have two main folders. We'll talk about the files later. So what are those folders? So actually what I'll do is, let's go back to the format that we were using before because it was still hanging for Stefan when we did the method that we did. So what we'll do is, we'll give everyone control again. So we'll give everyone control again. And yeah, what we want you to do, Francis, is Active Directory has two main folders. I want you to point out where those two main folders are for us. So this is a domain controller. It has lots of users in them. So let's increase the replication also. Sorry guys for the size. That's my little computer here. Okay, yeah. So now you have this server here. I think that's like probably too much. Let me decrease it a bit. Let's go resolution, apply. Yeah, that's better. Keep changes. Okay. So you have a domain controller here. So Francis, can you take over the mouse and show us the two? No problems. No problems. So I'll post the ID and the password to you so you can connect to the server.
Thank you.
No problems. So that's the ID and that's the password. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead, take over the mouse, Francis. Show us the two main folders of Active Directory. Because as system admins, these are things that, yeah, carry on. So what's the number one folder? Because we want to use this to learn. Does anyone want to, Ali, you want to help Francis? So the two main folders of Active Directory, what are they? You can unmute yourself if you want to talk. So two main folders of Active Directory, what are they? I'll bring the server up again. Yeah. So so you want to show us?
It must be in Windows System Suite System.
Ionica mentioned something very, very good. She said sysvol. So let's do it this way.
Yeah.
So Ionica,
Yes,
so let's do it this way because there's one thing that we'll try to do is Hangout. You normally say things, you have to be able to back them up. So Ionica, you mentioned sysvol, so you have to show us where sysvol is. So that's the way we function. So yeah, nice one. Here we go, sysvol. And now you not only have to show us where sysvol is, you have to explain what is the content of sysvol.
Uh,
Come on, Aonika, come on, come on.
I read so much information that Sysvol was on my mind, but it's hard for me to recall exactly what Sysvol is about. So
Anyone?
rather than, yeah, I'll let somebody else explain.
I mean, you just joined us. So we have two main folders for Active Directory. So Ionica mentioned one, sysvol, but unfortunately, Ionica wasn't able to take us further. So now we want you to take us further. So so inside sysvol, what is inside sysvol? What's the purpose of sysvol? Why does it exist? So you can unmute yourself when you want to talk. I mean,
Yeah. Hello.
hello, yeah, can hear you now.
So you're saying what's the purpose of sysvol?
Yes, exactly. What's the content? What's the purpose?
I think it kind of I think it stores a copy of the domain public files.
You're close,
Where
but what does that mean? The domain public files. I'll tell you something. I mean, I'll tell you something. It's
yeah,
one of the things that we do the hangout is that as system admins and network
yeah.
admins and that we throw around a lot of terms, and those
Mm,
terms we must be able to break them down.
yes.
So what do you mean by a lot of the public files? What type of files? What are those files?
Um, it's hard to explain it into
So actually, let's do this. Let's
shared
go inside
files. I'm
sysvol.
thinking like shared files, credentials. I'm thinking that's where the sysvols and everything, it sits in there.
Sysvol doesn't store credentials, but let's go through this. Sysvol,
Mm,
just go on the Sysvol here, javalatum.com. Here you go. Can you see this?
yeah.
Policies, scripts. In Active Directory, we'll talk about that. So that's the last section that we'll talk about in 7410, group
Yeah.
policies. So where are your group policies stored? So when your machine connects to the domain, you want your machine to apply a policy. But where will it get that policy from? It's from right here, sysvol. Every machine on this domain has
Mm,
access to this sysvol folder because they have to be able to download the policies. And I'll show that to you. If we go to launch server 1 now, launch server 1
mhm.
is a member of this domain. And let's bring up just a folder. And on launch server 1, let's go // adatum.com. Can you see that?
Yeah.
This guy can access sysvol. And look at
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you can see inside sysvol. You can see the policies, you can see the scripts.
Scripts, yeah.
He has access to this folder, and every machine on this domain has a. If you go on your domain, look for your domain
Yeah.
name on any domain that you are, go / the domain name, you'll see that you have direct access to the sysvol folder
Okay.
because that's
So
where. Carry on.
the policies, you mean like access policies, what the user can access and all that, it sits in there. Is that right?
It's group policies. So
Group
something called
policies.
group policies, but we'll talk about that in the last section of this module. So group policies is the last thing that we'll do. That'll
Right.
be in 2 weeks' time. We'll talk about group policies in details. So you have your
Mm.
group policies that you've said here. So
Yeah.
usually, yeah, so you have your group policies here, and that's the purpose of sysvol. Now we have another folder. So these are things that we know as system admins,
Mm.
Two core folders of Active Directory. We talk about sysvol. So what's the other one? What's the other folder of Active Directory? Stefan, you've been with us for a while now.
Well, it's the thing about the Active Directory itself, about its database, the ntis.dit, and the
You're
other one,
close. You're close.
DNS.
You're
So,
close.
yeah, besides sysvol, yeah, I think. Hold on, can I just take over?
Yeah, sure, you can. So this is launch server 1. So you have to go to DC1 down there. So if you go to the taskbar and click on the machine,
Uh,
yeah, DC1, yeah.
there we are. Yeah.
So there's another folder because actually this is the folder that we want to talk about in relation to DNS.
Oh, hold on. I just seen it. NTDS. Where we are? Oops. I'm a bit too fast.
Yeah, good one. Good
There
one.
we are.
So this is the second folder, C Windows NTDS. Now C Windows NTDS, because now you showed it to us, Stefan, so you have to explain to us what's the content of this folder.
Well, NTDS, first of all, it keeps everything regarding the Active Directory database itself.
Good
It's
one.
the location, the primary location.
Hmm.
And secondly, well, I can see something like temp EDB,
Hmm.
where I would say it also keeps logs.
Yeah.
I think it's related something related to auditing of
Hmm.
objects.
Hmm.
And thirdly, there's something. Whenever you install Active Directory, you've got three fields. The
Hmm.
third one, I don't recall what it is, but I think it's related something like defragmentation of the Active Directory. I'm not sure.
No,
I'm not sure about the third one.
I think what you've described is absolutely correct. So this is just the Active Directory file and the log files.
Yeah.
So this file right here, ntds.dit, dit stands for Directory Information Tree. ntds.dit, all your users, all your computers. So you go to Active Directory users and computers, and you go, oh, I want to create a new user. This new user will be called Amin. So you go on the users here, and you go, I want to create a new user and call him Amin, and go new user and just say Amin. So once you go next, and you create the user, what happens is that user is stored inside this single file, ntds.dit. So that's the most important file on your domain controller. Everything is stored inside this file. This file gets corrupted, your database is gone. Your Active Directory database is gone. So ntds.dit.
All
So
the users, the groups, computers, everything.
everything,
Right.
groups, computers, any object, printer objects that you've created, any object in Active Directory, they live inside this single file, ntds.dit. But here's the thing about ntds.it is that if your DNS, if it's Active Directory integrated, all your DNS records, they also live inside ntds.it. So when we talked about this, when we said this machine, it replicates information about Ali to this machine, what it's actually replicating is not as if it's copying information of Ali and sending it over. What is actually replicating is that file called ntds.dit. So it's like, okay, hold on, my ntds.dit, someone just changed it. It has a new user called Francis in it. So I will send my ntds.dit file to this guy, to this guy, and to this guy. So if someone makes a change on this guy, he will also send his ntds.dit file to me. You get the point? So that is
Mm.
what is being replicated, is that file right there. So that is why if you make your DNS Active Directory integrated, all your DNS records, they are also living inside this ntds.dit. So when this file is going here, at the same time, it's replicating Active Directory, it's replicating DNS. And the thing is, the process is secure by default. You get the point? So
Mm.
that's the main point. It's secure by default. So that leads us to another thing. I mentioned something about DNS. I said your DNS records, they live here. So now the next thing we are talking about is DNS records. So who wants to go first? Ali will go first. So Ali, what DNS records do you know about and can you explain them? So DNS record number one, Ali.
I think that would be the first lookup zones.
Not lookup
The first
zones. No, not lookup zones. So we're talking about the records now. Because DNS
first
itself,
record might be the Active Directory address.
hmm, I'm still looking for something because in DNS you have different types of records.
Yeah.
A records, triple
Good,
A, 4As.
nice one. So Stefan mentioned one. At least Stefan mentioned something called a record.
Mm.
So Stefan,
It's
C names, or is it that?
good
Does that
one.
relate to?
C name. Yeah, nice one. Stefan mentioned another one apart from hey also. You mentioned another one.
4As records.
Four A's, four A's. Yeah, nice one.
Pointer records.
Pointer records, good one.
Yeah.
Which other one?
MX records.
MX record. Which
Yeah,
other
mail
one?
exchanger.
Yeah. Which other record do we have?
Something else.
Mm.
Come on, there's still quite some of them.
Mm.
A record.
X.
Yeah, we have a record at the top.
Name servers. Name servers. NS records.
NS records, good one. NS record. So what else?
Service
The
records.
prefix one. What's the prefix?
Someone
later?
mentioned something. Service, I had service, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's me.
Service record, yeah. What else?
Um,
Certificates.
No, not really.
No.
Certificates, no.
Authority records.
Sorry, what's that?
Authority record. I
Authority.
think.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
right.
so-
What's it called?
let's
Yeah, good
SOA,
one.
yeah.
SOA, yeah, good one. So now you've helped to mention this. So we'll go from left to right. So we'll start with Stefan. We'll go to Ionica. So Stefan, you take the first one. Ionica, you take the
Okay.
second one. Francis, you take the third one. Amin, you take the fourth one. Ali, you take the fifth one. Then we go around. So a record. So what does that do? What's the purpose?
It has the IP address with regards to a specific name of the object. So it's the name
Mm-hmm.
resolved. It's the name resolved to the IP.
Name resolved to IP. So what is pointer record? Is it not name resolved to IP?
Oh no, sorry. The reverse one. I'm sorry. IP to name. Yeah, sorry. You're absolutely right. I'm confused about
No, name to IP. Name to address IP, I think.
Stefan, all of these records, A, CNAME, AAA, pointer, they are all named to IPs. Every single one of them.
Okay.
But the thing is, they contain they are recording something, a particular type of record. So the reason why we say something like a record is so that it specify a particular type of device. So what are those type of devices when we say a record? So what
It regards devices using IP4 format compared to the 4As which is using IP6.
IPv4, yeah, you're already helping the guy doing IPv6, but we'll put that down.
Yeah.
IPv6, yeah. But okay, what type of device again? Like a record, like what name to IP address? Yeah, but what type? Like
Plus, PCs.
good ones, PCs.
Yeah.
What else?
Printers.
Printers, yeah, good one.
Servers.
Servers. Basically, all the devices, right? All the
Every
devices.
device that uses IPv4, I think.
Very good one. So every device that uses IPv4. So that means in your domain you have a device called a printer. You are like, oh, this is finance printer one. So you just go and create an A record pointing finance printer one to 10.1.1.1. So you have a server, you go and create an A record. So it's just for every device that uses IPv4. So good one. So Ionica next, CNAME.
At first,
I hope no one is looking at Google while while we're discussing this.
before looking it up, I was tempted to say common name, but
Yeah.
it's not.
So yeah,
So I looked it up,
it's okay. You're
and it
forgiven.
says canonical name.
Canonical name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's the purpose of canonical name? Because that sounds complicated. You go and talk to someone, you're like, I'm creating a canonical name record. We're like, whoa, what are you talking about? Canonical name, what that? So what's the purpose of canonical name?
I never understood this part. Yeah. Well,
Ironica, come on, you did it for us the first time. You told us about Sysvol, then you didn't take us further. Now you've mentioned canonical name, and now we are more confused. Thanks very
I
much,
I
think,
Ironica. Thanks very much.
I'm sorry.
Someone wants to say something.
yeah, I wanted to say.
Yeah, carry on, Ali.
I think it's when we, for example, we have some Hyper-V machines that they use. Maybe we don't want to rename them, or we want to, for example, for security reasons, we want they have some big names or long names actually, and when we want to in DNS, forward them in DNS and resolve their names, we can use some alternative names that, for example, just admins know that. And when they want to access that machines, resolve the IP address of that machine, they can use these kind of canonical names as an alternative name.
Very good one. Very, very good one, Ali. So CNAME, another name that people call CNAME records, is they call them alias.
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 Alias, yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, you have a device here. So you have your printer. Let's say your printer's name is printer 01. So you as an administrator, you've called it printer 01. But then all of a sudden you're like, it'll probably be confusing for people in finance to know our printer is printer 01, sales printer is printer 02. So you're like, I want something to be like, finance printer, something that they will be able to, relate to. But the thing is, you don't want to go and start renaming all the device and stuff like that. So what you do is you just create a CNAME record and point it to this A record. So a CNAME record points to A or a record. So it's just an alias for them. It's just like a nickname. Yeah. So now, thanks very much for that. So Francis, now we're up to you now. A. What is that record? I can see Kora just joined us. Hello, Kora. So Kora, I'll put the ID and the password of the TeamViewer server that we're connecting to. I'll put it in the chat window so you can connect to the server and see. Yeah, no problem. Sorry. Yeah. So Francis, come on, you can unmute yourself. A records. What day? Come on, I'm sure you're not going to disappoint us like Aonika did. I'm sure you won't do that. Francis is not even unmuting himself.
And now, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. That's like IPv6. That's Internet Protocol version 6.
Yeah.
That's like a long string of an IP address.
Yeah. So, but what type of device is it? What type of device is A? What types of devices do they point to?
Any device which can be on the network using IPv6.
Good one.
Even like computers, let's say like if a computer is running, let's say Windows 8, you can actually use IPv6 on there.
Yeah, very good one. Very, very good one. Thanks very much. So now we're next to, okay, we just had Cora that just joined. So we'll jump Cora for now. We'll come back to you. So Hamin, you have pointer records. PTR. What are they?
Oh, God, okay.
Yeah.
From what I understood from PPR was that it kind of checks if the server name is actually, associated from where the connection was made initially. For example, if I make a connection from my laptop to the server, I think its job is to check if the server name is actually associated to that IP address. It's kind of like checking the name against the IP address. Is that right?
Pointer records.
I think the A record's work is to translate the names to the address, and the PTR records it works as a reverse, translate addresses to the names, I think.
Good one. Very, very good one.
It's using the IN dot whenever you create the reverse forward zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or reverse lookup zone. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So very, very good one. So that's what it's pointing to, I mean. So pointer record is basically saying, so before, you have an A record for your printer that it's pointing, the printer name to an IP address. But
Yeah.
now you want the printer IP address to be pointing to a name. The type of record that you create is a type of record called a PTR pointer record. So points IP addresses to names. Thanks very much, Ali. You've saved us twice now.
Oh, it's okay.
So
Maybe
now,
next time you save me.
no, we'll get Stefan or Anika or I mean, Xavier.
Yeah.
So now we're up to MX record. So what's MX record for?
Who is it? Me?
No, it's Ali now. So
Oh,
Ali
it's
can't escape his own. Yeah, you still have to answer your own.
okay. MX records, I think it's as a mail exchanger. For example, I think when we want to identify domain addresses who are directing email traffic to recipients, so or mail gateways or something, services like using POP3s, SMTP servers. When we want to redirect them, we use MX
Very good
record.
one. Very good one. So in other words, what Ali just explained is this. So think about a situation where let's bring up another paint. So think about a situation where there's someone sitting over here on this network over here. So this network is called so I'll just
Okay.
use the mouse. So this network is just called ionica.com. And then there's another network over here, and this network is called ali.com. So if I go ali.com. Now, there's a device here, there's a computer here, there are servers and all that. So here too, there are servers, and then there's a computer here. So this guy decides I want to send an email to a user called user1 at ionica.com. Now, what DNS can do is that DNS can help you to locate this domain called ionica.com. But DNS doesn't know of a user called user1. So DNS helps you to locate and it gets here and it's like, yeah, I'm ionica.com. But which machine can route mails on this network? Which machine is the mail server for this network? So once this packet gets to this network, the first thing it asks for is that, hey, I'm not just a normal type of packet, I'm carrying an email. So what I need is the mail server for this network. And the DNS will reply and say, okay, I have this MX record in my record. Somebody's moving the mouse. So I have this I have this MX records for the mail servers in my domain. So it's like just give me one of them. So it gives him one of them. It's like MX1. So it sends it to MX1, and MX1 will know who user one is and where to put that mail. So it's just a record to identify the mail servers on your network. So now we're back to
David?
yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, I do have a question here.
Yeah,
Well, I'm a bit confused when we talk about MX records
yeah,
with regards to internet connections.
yeah.
Do I rely on internet connection to be able to, to ensure mail transfers? Since we are talking about MX records, does it really rely on the internet to get mails circulating from one server to another one through the MX records?
The question you've asked is a really good one, but it's a really long one to answer. But let me try to make it really, really short. So what many people will do in the real world is, um, in the real world, how many people do you want to expose your Active Directory? Do you want to expose your Active Directory and DNS? So let's say you have AD and DNS here. Do you want to expose it to the internet? No,
No.
you don't.
No.
Because like I said, DNS is so sensitive that because part of the job of an hacker is to get information about your network. So once you can get the information, the other part is now trying to break. But the thing is, for you to be able to break something, you have to know about it. So it's the kind of thing they call in security. They call it security by by obscurity. So you try to secure something by obscuring it. So you don't want an attacker to be able to see all the records and know which machine is this machine on your domain, which machine is the mail server, so I know if I want to attack mails, I know what to target. You don't want them to be able to do that. So you have your internal DNS server. And then
Mhm.
what you now do is your internal DNS server will be pointing to something, maybe within your network, maybe outside your network. That's something that is pointing to, does anyone know what it's called?
The external DNS, I presume.
No, there's a particular name for it.
The name, the root
That's the
name
name.
server,
Forwarder.
or the
It's
top
called a
level. Oh
forwarder.
yes, oh yes.
It's called a forwarder. So you have a forwarder. So your DNS goes, okay, I want to go somewhere on the internet. Well, I'm not going to try to go on the internet by myself. I will send it to this forwarder guy. This forwarder guy will take that responsibility and handle this for me. So what people will do is you can either use this forwarder guy and he has direct access to the internet, and this forwarder guy can have the record, only the record that you want him to have. So you won't have all the record that this guy has. Or what you can do is you can go to something like um, godaddy.com. And on godaddy.com, I'm just trying to make it as quick as possible. You register a domain name. So when you register a domain name, um, they will also ask you, do you want to register an MX record for this domain? Yeah. So if you say, well, I want to register an MX record for this domain, so you give to them, you say, the domain name is maybe mail1.ionica.com, and the IP address is the public IP address of this one. So which would be, let's say, 87.2.2.2. So this information that you've put on GoDaddy, it will replicate to the DNS servers on the internet. So if somebody wants to send you an email, what will happen is they want to send an email to someone on ali.com. Yeah. So they query, DNS servers. There are lots of them on the internet, lots of DNS servers, for the ISPs. They query one of the DNS servers on the ISP to say, I'm looking for domain name ali.com. It will point them to GoDaddy. So once it gets to GoDaddy, it will say, I'm looking for the MX record of this domain name. GoDaddy will now be the one to say, the MX record, this mail exchange server is called mail.ionica.com, and its IP address is this public IP address. So it will send it all the way to this one. So when this one gets it, this one knows the MX record for external, yeah,
Hmm.
and it also knows for internal. So this one takes it and is like, okay, you're looking for the internal mail record. I can forward you to this one. I'm not sure if you get that. I'm not sure if that explains what you were asking.
So a question, the forwarder,
Yeah,
a server, or can it be a firewall? Because I understood your point.
yeah,
The mail is coming from, GoDaddy.com.
yeah,
So for it to enter is either your router or firewall on port 25, whatever.
yeah.
So that for firewall
Forwarder.
or router,
Yeah.
is it forwarder, or do you
So
mean?
you can use, so there are different things you can use. You don't have to use, it doesn't have to be a Microsoft server.
Hmm,
There are people that sell things that they call mail appliances.
hmm.
So what that mail appliance will be doing is it will also be doing the job of a forwarder, mail appliance, but at the same time, it can be doing something like spam filtering.
Yeah,
So
because
it can
as
filter
a
spam. Yeah,
company we have outsourced that one to a third party.
exactly. Yeah.
They have this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what Anika is now asking is that, so how will he know that, sorry, what has Anika, what Stefan has asked is that how will he know, how will
Mm.
this one know? So the way it will know is that you've outsourced it to this company. So maybe as part of GoDaddy, you've set your MX record, your external MS record, but you've set it with your the public IP address of this one here. You get the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the way it will know. So once it comes here, it goes to the public IP address of this one. Now, this one will be hosting, because it's connected externally and internally, it will be hosting record for this internal zone also. But the thing is, you can limit the records that are on this one. So it can be like, if somebody is coming in asking for, the mail server, this is the IP address internally. You get the point. I'm not sure, is that clear to anyone? Is it to
Yeah.
everyone? Or at least it gives you an idea. There's more to it than that, but at least it gives you an idea of how that works.
Yeah, I
So
think I understand what Stefan was kind of asking. Why does it rely on internet?
yeah,
So it relies on internet because it is coming from outside.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Stefan, back to you. We've not forgotten you at all, even though you asked us questions.
Yeah.
So back to you. So now we have NS record.
Um, yes, it's record about the name server, which is authoritative for the zone itself.
Name again, IT people. IT people. And I like saying this a lot. IT people. Have you ever spoken with an IT person before? And by the time you finish, you're more confused. You're like, so the name server stuff, what is it? Or you go to hack someone like, all this VMware ESX. And by the time they finish explaining, they have like about
Yeah.
15 more complicated terms. And you're like, whoa, what in the world is this? So
Mm.
NS record name server. So so just
Uh,
boil it down.
I
So
mean,
what is it?
yeah. I mean, it's the name of his server, which can handle requests about resolution of a host for its own zone. If I
Yeah,
can
and
explain
and
that,
what's
please.
that server called? It's called
Well,
DNS
it says
server.
authoritative.
No,
Domain
it's called
authority.
DNS server.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
actually, to break everything down, I'll mute people because I'm hearing some feedback. So you can unmute yourself if you've got questions. So
So
yeah, I'll
sim
just quickly
simply
mute people. Stefan, sorry, I muted you. You can unmute yourself. Okay. So back to the thing. So DNS server, so sorry, name server, it's similar to MX record. So MX record points anybody that is looking for the mail server in the domain. It says, I'm a mail server for the domain. So it's the same thing for NS record. NS record is simply a pointer to the DNS server for the domain. So somebody's like, hey, I'm on this domain. I'm looking for the DNS server for this domain. It's like, yeah, NS record. That's me. I'm a name server record. It's domain name service, name server. So it just basically so the same thing that you have MX record pointing to the mail servers for the domain. You have NS servers pointing to the name servers for the domain. So for example, let's go to Active Directory 1 here. So let's get so there's someone, I think let's get someone to do this. So let's get well, Aonika, if you do this for us. So if you go to under DNS on this server, so let's go under DNS. So this will help us to learn a few things. And then we'll give someone a quick task to do also. No, that's not DNS. Come on. That's just server manager.
Oh,
So what we want
sorry.
is where we can add records and delete records. So where can we add records and delete records? How
Oh,
do we
sorry.
get them?
Just close this one. Uh,
If we let Aonika control the mouse, because I figured that maybe you're struggling with moving the mouse. Maybe someone's trying to control the mouse.
oh,
No,
hello.
no problem, Jose. No problem. Yeah, so long DC1 is the one you want. Yeah.
Okay.
So we want to just we want to add some test DNS records. So you can help us to understand it when we see it.
So it's not from tools.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
figuring out.
yeah. Good one. Yeah, that's you're in the right direction.
You said it's not DNS.
Yeah, no, it's DNS there, but it's
Oh,
not
here.
DNS on
Okay.
the server manager. Yeah, so DNS
Okay.
will actually bring out MMC. Yeah, there you go. So that's the MMC. Now we can expand it. So if you go, so if you expand it, maximize this so it can be bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the forward lookup zone, which we'll come back to, go on the forward lookup zone on the
Okay.
hadatone.com, which is this domain. Yeah. So if you look at name server record, what's that pointing to? It's pointing to LONDC1, which is this server, because this server is a because this server is a domain name server, right? So
This one.
yeah.
Okay.
So this one, if you go to this one, this NS record, you can see the type of record, NS record. So NS record is pointing to the DNS server for the domain.
Should I just open this or
And no. So
no?
I just want you to highlight NS record there.
Uh,
Yeah, that one.
it's not this one.
And the other one, the one
This
below
one.
it,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that
Okay.
one, yeah. So you can see that's an NS record, and it's pointing to LONDC1, which is a DNS server for the domain. So what happens is if I create another DNS server on this domain, you find another NS record for it here. You get the point? So that's just what NS record is. And just to quickly throw this one in. So who was the one that explained MX record for us? Who explained MX record to us? I think it was Ali, right?
Ali.
Yeah, I think you did MX record for us. So Ali, I have a question for you. And here's my
Yeah.
question. I have a network. On this
Okay.
network, I don't have just one single mail server. I have 4 of them. So a mail came, to the network. So how will my DNS server decide I'm sending you to mail server number 1, or I'm sending you to mail server number 2? How will it decide?
I think DNS, in Active Directory, by default, they are using something like roundabout, and they will control the redundancy for getting better performance. So if you are in the same subnet with your DNS server, I think the DNS will resolve the IP address that is in your subnet. But if you are out of the subnet, for example, all of your DNS aren't in your subnet, so the first one who is received the request will answer you, and for example, if you for the second time ask it, it will cache on it, and again it will resolve it for you. But if you execute commands like flush DNS, there is another chance to the other one to answer you. So
Ali,
yeah.
here's the simple answer to that. This thing that I've highlighted here, that's the answer.
Okay,
So that,
I can see that.
yeah, so that
Okay.
is what it uses to decide which DNS server do I send you to first. Sorry, which MX server do I send you to for? If I have multiple, it uses this field here called the mail server priority.
Okay.
So so there are 2 ways that you can use it in the real world. What many people would do in the real world. So let's get rid of this one. What many people would do in the real world is this. So I'll just take over the mouse quickly and let's delete that. So what many people would do is they will have mail server 1, mail server 2, mail server 3. But what they will now do is that, how this mail server, if you go under DNS, you find the record for, mail 1 pointing to 10.1.1.1. You find record for mail 2 pointing to 10.1.1.2. You find record for mail 3 pointing to 10.1.1.3. What many people will do in the real world is that they won't be using, you know, this mail priority that Microsoft has set there. That's not what they'll do. What they will now do is they will have something here. Um, they will have another device here, which can be a hardware or software, and that device will be a load balancer. So they are hardware load balancers, they are software load balancers. Microsoft themselves have um, Microsoft Network Load Balancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand what Jose is saying. Jose, can you explain what you mean by F5? I have no idea. Okay, so they'll have something like a load balancer here. So this load balancer, they will give it a name like mail, just mail. Yeah. And it's connected to this one, and this one. So your DNS server won't actually be doing the load distribution. This device will be doing it. Oh, okay. Oh, what Jose is saying is that there's a company called F5 that sells load balancing hardware. So let's just quickly Google them. So let's bring these up. F5. So do you get the point? So that's what many people do in the real world. Either a software load balancer or hardware load balancer. So let's go F5 load balancer. Yeah, there you go. Let's see what they look like. Yeah, so you have a device like this. So how the device that you want it to balance the load for, they'll be connected to it. So this one, you give it a name of like maybe mail. And what will now happen here is you go mail.adatum.com for this one. So actually what you do is you make this one a priority, the highest priority. You give this one's like very, very low priority. So anytime any mail comes here, it's being sent to this load balancer. But this load balancer is not a mail server itself, it just distributes the load. You get the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what many people would do in the real world. Just to throw that in. Okay, so let's go a step. Let's go. Okay, so we have MX record now. And what else? What else do we have after MX records? We have.
But if their all priority are the same,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't change the priority by default,
Yeah.
so what will happen? Which one will answer us?
That I've never ever tested it before. But we can find out. Let's find out. So if we go mail server priority DNS. So let's go. But what I'll tell you is that most people in the real world won't hardly use that. The reason is because you don't want your DNS to be performing load balancing functions. That's not its job. Its job is to resolve names. So let's go. We're looking for mail, or let's just look for priority. Or actually, yeah. Look at this. Yeah, we got something wrong here. So look at this. So they said the mail server with the lowest preference number has the highest priority and is the first to receive mail. If mail delivery fails, the mail server with the next lower preference number is tried. But the thing is, I think the question you're asking is, what if this one keeps responding all the time and they all
Yeah.
have the same number? So what will happen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe they all have the same
yeah.
number.
But this one is not going down because it will only try the next one if the other one fails. So that one, I've never ever labbed it before. Yeah, I've never ever labbed that before. So it's probably, I'm sure we can do some research online and find out what it will do with that. I've never ever tested it before to see, okay, if I give them the same, will it just keep sending it to just one if that one is active all the time or what? My guess, here's my guess, it's just a guess.
I think they by default using some
Hello,
roundabout.
No, it won't. But I think,
David.
yeah, hello, carry on.
I think I saw something on that page. Can you
This
go to
one.
that
Is it
page?
this one or this one?
The website where you were just now.
This one.
There's something. Yeah, they says it. use 10 for your highest priority mail server, 20 for the next,
Yeah.
30 for the one after that. I think on that mail server 1, 2, and 3, you can give those values like 10, 20, 30.
Yeah.
Then that's how the priority will be.
But I think the question that Ali is asking is this one, though, which is a really valid question. Is that, okay, if 10 is always active all the time, yeah? Let's just give an illustration. So
Yeah.
you have the one that has the priority 10, which is lowest. That means it has the highest priority. If it's always active all the time, does that mean the one that has priority of 20 and 30 will be sitting there doing nothing? You don't ever want that to happen where you just accept, in certain conditions. You don't ever want your servers to just sit down doing nothing. You know, they're consuming electricity, consuming a lot of things. So what Ali is now asking is that what if you now give all of them the same priority? Will DNS use some kind of load balancing to distribute them?
But David,
Yeah,
if I can say something, let's
yeah,
say you assign the same priority
yeah.
on all the servers.
Mm,
If I see it the way around,
mm.
it's as if you haven't assigned anything as priority to any server. So it becomes into a situation, into a scenario where I guess the server which will be, let's say, less with less
Ah,
activities, less things will take it first. My guess. You
I,
get what I mean?
yeah, I get what you mean. I think, you
Yeah.
know what? I think this one will give us the answer because I saw something here about the same preference value. So let's search for this. So I think Wikipedia has the answer again. Assigning the same preference value to how the available server provide the same benefit, and may even help avoid overload situation. Let's see. Same preference provide this benefit. Because the MX preference ordering specifies that some server should be tried first, it is, if anything, a means of establishing load imbalance. Another common misinterpretation of MX preference ordering is that it is intended to provide a means of failover in the case of server overload. Why it can be used that way, it is a poor resource management technique because it intentionally creates overload and does not fully utilize the available hardware. Assigning the same preference value to all the available servers provide the same benefit and may even help avoid overload situation. So what does that mean? Does that mean that it distributes them? Because I don't think this is like really clear. What do you think, guys? What do you think? Ali, what do you think? Do you think does this mean that it distributes them?
I think I'm using. I was talking about this thing round robin.
Hmm?
If you can check it, I send it on the chat.
So I'm clicking that now. Yeah, do you think this one? Let's see. Configuring. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, let's see.
This
Configuring
can
round
use,
robin
yeah, this can use some algorithm that,
for about types. But this one is talking about a particular configuration that would do. So is this by default? Because I don't think this is by default.
yeah, this is by default in DNS. DNS by default uses round robin rotation.
Round robin is a load balancing mechanism used by DNS server to share and distribute network resource load. You can use it to rotate all resource records type contained in a query and if multiple resource records are found. By default, oh, okay, yeah, good one. It says by default, DNS uses round robin to rotate the order of RR data returned in query answers where multiple resource records of the same type exist for a query. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're correct, Ali. You're absolutely correct. So by default, actually, DNS will use round robin if it finds the same record, the same resource records.
Yeah, if you, for
Yeah.
example, at the first time
Yeah.
you ask some records from DNS and DNS, the first one answered you,
Yeah.
and again you answer that you ask that question from the
Yep.
DNS. The first one that answered you will answer you again.
Yeah.
And if you are in the same subnet with the DNS, for example, you are on 10.10 and 10.1, and your DNS is in your subnet,
Yeah.
and the others DNS aren't in your subnet, so the one that in your subnet will answer you. But all of them are when all of them are not in your subnet, the one which is actually less busier than the others and weren't busy in that time of moment will answer you based on the round robin default algorithm.
Yeah. Okay. Got that. Nice one, man. Nice one. Yeah. So we figured that one out eventually. Ali helped us again. Thanks, man. So yeah, so we get the point that if we have the same value for that, it will use round robin. But then in the real world, many companies, because like one of the reasons, like I know where I work, we use a hardware load balancer, and one of the reasons is because devices are supposed to do their jobs. So you want your routers to be routing, you want your switches to be switching. You don't want your switching sending broadcast all the time. You want your DNS servers to be dealing with DNS. You want your file servers to be dealing with file services. So that way you don't want to be using, don't want DNS to be taking over the job of this one. You don't want this one to be taking over the job of this one. So we just use a hardware load balancer to distribute the load. And the thing with these hardware load balancers is that or even software load balancers, is that they can be really intelligent sometimes. Because here's the thing with load balancing, it's a popular issue with load balancing is that um, you have, like in the situation that we described there, think about you have this one. So let's say this guy sent a job that is like, let's just for illustration, let's say the job that he's sending, this job, it's 10, yeah, I'll control the mouse. Sorry. So let's say this job is like 10, I think someone is moving the mouse. So let's say this job is like 10 megabytes. Yeah, this job is 10 megabytes. So it comes here, let's say we're using something that is not intelligent like this one. So it sends it to this one. Then the next one that comes in is just 1 kilobyte. It sends it to this one. The next one that comes in is just a 0.5 kilobyte. It sends it to this one. The next one that comes in is 50 megabyte. It sends it to this one again. So you can see that this one is overloaded. Even though it's distributing it round robin, this one is overloaded. Because whenever, so this one is sent like a 10 megabyte job to this one. It sends one kilobyte job to this one, 1.5 kilobyte job to this one. But those methods are not like, may not be quite intelligent enough to realize that, okay, hold on, I sent 50 megabytes to this one last time. This one's got just a 0.2 kilobyte. So if anything heavy comes in, I should send it to this guy here. So they may not be as intelligent to really dig down and know, okay, this is the actual load that this device is under. This is the actual
Yeah,
load. Yeah.
I think the round robin just balance the DNS queries and
Yeah.
DNS requests. These are not that much of bytes of
Of
data,
top.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. They're not. Yeah. It's true. Sure. So let's move a step further now. So now we've talked about records. Do we have any other record? Yeah, start of authority. So who is next? Who is next to describe start of authority to us? Or we have SRV next. So Stefan was
It
the
was
one
me,
that
I
did.
think. No, it wasn't me. It's OA I was.
Was it Ionica that did the last one? Name server. Oh, name server was Stefan. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Oze, do you have a mic? No, I think Oze is joining from the office, so Oze may not have a mic. So what we can do is let's move. Let's move to Ionica. So we're back to you now. SRV record. What do they do?
Oh, I hate myself for disappointing you.
No, not again. Not again, Ionica. What do you think should be the punishment for Anika, guys? No, it's all right. Just joking. So, Francis, do you want to help Anika? SRV record.
Um, it's kind of indirectly a pointer, just a record indicating a specific service. Well, let me just illustrate it for an example.
Yes.
At work at the office, we use link
Yeah.
and some IP phones.
Yeah.
So what we did in the DNS, we create some entries, some SRV records like autodiscover dot blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and throughout the autodiscover records,
Hmm.
whenever the phone boots, it
Hmm.
looks for all the configs through this record.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets its config from this record, which
Yeah.
server to communicate with, and such like things.
Yeah. Good one.
So I
Very,
would
very
say
good
it's a
one.
record, yeah, for a specific service.
So let's put that down. Record for a specific service. You're absolutely correct. Because this is the same way that it discovers the domain controller in the domain. For example, we go on this network here. We'll go ping adatum.com. This thing that is replying us, that's the domain controller for this domain. And the way it knows is the service record, like you rightly said. So you go here, let's expand this. Here you go. So you can see LDAP service. So it's like, okay, if I need to do Kerberos, I know which server can provide this service to me. If I need to do an LDAP query, I know which server can provide this service to me. And it's the same thing that, like you rightly said, you can use the same thing for link, for the SIP service. So if you're like, I'm looking for a server that can provide SIP service to me. So that way, you don't have to go to all your link clients, like you said, to say, this is the link server. They are joined to the domain, they will locate the link server by themselves. So that's the is that clear at all? Yeah. So Francis, don't know. You've not run away. We can see your shirt. We can see your shirt,
I'm here.
Francis. You can hide. So you got the next one. You got the last one actually. You got the SOA record. So SOA record. So what does it? Not all applications. Not applications, Jose.
Uh, Hello?
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you now, Francis. So the SOA record.
S O that's something like start of authority something, but I don't know what authority are we talking of there.
I like that. I like that. That's a lot, man. Start of authority, but I have no idea which authority.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any idea which authority which authority we're
It's
starting?
it's the server that's resolving that's proceeding with resolution within the zone. I mean, within the domain, including the zones.
I don't get that. Can you explain that a bit
I
more?
mean, I mean, let's say it's the DNS server
Mm-hmm.
which is responsible to resolve the names to the IP address itself.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Anyone have any other views on that SOA record?
I think the SOA records is the first records that should start create in the DNS. It's get the authentications and indicates the information for the servers within this DNS domain.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of resource record, it shows the servers, domain servers, who has the authority of everything in this area.
Good one. That's the keyword. The keyword is the authority. So it's saying, look at this. We have this SOA record here. It's like we have name servers here. But what it's saying is that this server is the one that's authoritative, sorry, authoritative for this domain. So if you look here, it's got a serial number, right? So let's do a quick demonstration of something. If I go new A record, let's go client 5 IP address, let's call it 192.168.7.6. No need for pointer record. Let's add host. Successfully created. Refresh. Let's go back to our SOA. Now it's increased it. So this is the way that servers know that there's been a change in DNS. So anytime there's a change in DNS, it uses the serial number. So it's only under the SOA record that you find this. So it increments the serial number under this. So all the other servers, all the other DNS servers can know there's been a change in the DNS record. Did you get that? And also you can use the start of authority because it's authoritative for the zone to configure things like the refresh interval for the zone, the expiry time for the DNS record for the zone. Do you get that at all?
But yeah, David, what's
Yeah.
the increment button used for more specifically?
I have no idea, like why you want to click on this one manually. I'm sure that there must be a reason. Does anyone have any answer for that? Why would we want to do this? Because normally, like, if this number is like this, if I make any changes on this domain to DNS on this domain, it will automatically increment that number.
Okay.
But is there any reason why I want to manually increment it? I think that's your question, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In this way, I think you can force the secondary DNS to replicate with this server.
Yeah. So we can
and update their records.
Yeah. Why? You know why I just noticed now? You know why?
Because by default they will, I don't know, maybe in 2 minutes or every 2 minutes they will replicate with each other. It's some kind of command prompt that you can use. I think, in my idea, you can force the other secondary servers to replicate with this one.
Yeah, that's a good reason. I think that sounds like a valid reason. I've not checked it out. I've not researched it before, but that does sound like a. I'm sorry, Stefan. We'll need to investigate that and find out what's the reason. But what Ali said does sounds like a valid reason why you want to do that. So what Ali said was that maybe you want replication to take place now, you know. So you can just come and increment this. So it's a way of deceiving the others to think, oh, we need to replicate. There's been a change. And then they go and replicate. So it's sort of like a way to deceive and do replication and all that. Yeah. Okay. Good one. Good one. So, hey, welcome, Mark. How you doing? So let's go to this one. So now, on this other side, we have something called lookup. Sorry, not lookup zone. We have something called zones. So there are different zones in Active Directory. So does anyone want to help, like in terms of what the zones are? So the same thing that we did for record, let's do that for zones. So I'll just use the mouse. For Mark and anybody that just joined, we have an ID and the password for the server that we're connecting to. So if you use TeamViewer to connect to the ID and that password. So yeah, so zones. Anyone wants to start? Kova, you've been really quiet. Kova's been really quiet. So Kova, do you want to start? So what are the different types of zones that we have in DNS? Kova, can hear you. If Kova is busy, does anyone wants to take that? Mark, do you want to take that? I know you just joined, but Mark, are you there? Can you hear us? Oh, sorry, no mic today. Yeah. Well, Kova, no mic also. You don't have any mic. Yeah. Okay. Amin, you want to start with this? Amin. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. zero knowledge about forward zones or lookup zones.
Yeah, you've mentioned one of them, forward zones. Ah, okay. Thanks very much, Stefan. Stefan sent us a link. I like these links that you guys are sending. They're really, they're really useful.
Mhm.
Stefan sent us a link for the increment button. So let's see what they have to say
Actually,
about that.
yeah.
By using the increase, you can increase. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Ali, you're absolutely correct. It says by using the increment button, you can increase the value, thereby forcing a zone transfer. So that's absolutely correct. Well done, man. Absolutely correct. So there we go. So we have the answer for that one now. So
Thank you.
the reason why we want to use that button is, let's say you want to force replication. So we can use that button to increment, and then we can use that to force replication. Good one, guys. Good one. Very good one. So Hamin, so you mentioned something. You mentioned forward lookup zone, right?
Yeah, forward lookup zones.
Yep.
Um,
Hello. Yeah.
it's also, I think, it helps in uh, caching name servers.
Any other zone in DNS apart from forward lookup zone?
Reverse one.
Good one. Reverse lookup zone. Any
Yeah.
other one?
Mm,
Any other one?
Mm.
I'm thinking.
What
Prime.
about one that starts with a S?
Second. Oh, oh, Josie mentioned it.
Ah, okay, yeah, Ozzy already mentioned it. Nice one. Stop zone. So we have a stop zone. So forward lookup zone. So what's that? What does it do? Um, well, Ozzy didn't mention forward lookup zone, so we'll let you go. So forward lookup zone.
It maps the domain names to the IP address. Yeah,
Yep.
basically resolution of the domain names.
Yeah. Nice one. So that's just basically what it does. It's a zone that
Mm.
contains the translation of host names to IP addresses or C names to IP addresses. So what about reverse lookup zones? Yeah,
It must be contain PTR records.
yeah, good one. Contains PTR record. And what a PTR record?
Um, Pointer records, we talked about it.
Yeah. And the reason why I mention is for, but
Yeah,
like I said,
yeah, it's reverse the IP addresses to
to
the
that,
To
network
the names.
addresses,
yeah.
or
Do
to names.
you know the reason why I'm doing that? I tell you the reason why I'm doing that. I'm like, I know in IT, like,
You're testing us.
no, it's not testing. It's not because of testing. It's cause of this. It's cause I know, like, sometimes IT people. I'm not sure if you've experienced this. They like making things complicated. Like many
Mm.
times, I remember when I first started in IT, and people were mentioning like all this stuff about, VMware SXI, and they're giving like all these complicated terms, and you're like, wow, this is huge. There's no way I can ever know that ever in my life. These things are complicated. Then you go off and then you read about it a little bit, and you're like, hold on, this thing is really simple. Why do you have to, you know, make it so complicated? And I found out that one of the reasons is because we have a lot of terms in IT. But the thing is, people keep using these terms, but no one is explaining these terms. So
Yeah,
people
because
come
the
with,
ITT people always think there always must be a catch in everything.
yeah, and
We are
then
looking
yeah, and then we like
looking
using
for
the
complication.
terms. Yeah, we like using the terms because the terms make things, So you come, for example, if you go, forward lookup zone, you just map names to IP addresses. That's all. But if you go, so I created a forward lookup zone. It sounds complicated and wow, like forward lookup zone. What's that? That's like amazing. Forward lookup. So, yeah, I get all that kind of stuff. That happens all the time in IT. And yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I keep mentioning that we can make things complicated, but we have to make it simple, especially when we're studying together and stuff like that. For because people have different levels of maturity and knowledge. So the same thing that maybe someone mentioned, someone else may be like, I have no idea. That sounds complicated to me. So so Ali said correctly, it contains PTR record, and PTR record, what it means is that it reverses IP addresses to
The names.
host names. So in other words, if I go on this server here, let's go on DC1. Actually, I think we should get someone to do that. So um, let's see, reverse lookup zone. Yeah. So actually, we'll get someone to do this. Let's get one of the people that don't have a mic. Let's get who is in the middle here without a mic. Jose is in the office. Okay, Mark has no mic. Okay, let's get Mark to do this. So Mark, if you create a reverse lookup zone for this server or for this domain that we're on. So the domain is called adatum.com. So I want you to take over the mouse and create a reverse lookup zone for us. Yeah, good one. Yeah, hold on here. So this one is really important. This was what we were talking about before. Um, but actually, we've not talked about primary zone, secondary zone, but we'll talk about that one now before we talk about this. So we want to create a new zone. It's asking us that you want to create a primary zone, a secondary zone, or a stop zone. What's a primary zone? What does it do? Or when will you need a primary zone?
Does that when that one never exists, or we are making that record for the first time, or introducing that for the first time to the server?
No.
It's the first zone that we actually created on this server, physically on this server,
Is it?
I think. The primary zone.
Not really.
It's
Any
it's
other
it's
perspective?
it's it's the zone which will contain all the, I would say, all the objects of your network, actually, and it's the master. It will be the master zone where you can edit all the stuffs.
Yeah, that's the keyword. He said word edit. So actually it tells us right there. It says it creates a copy of his zone that can be updated directly on this server. Let's
I
do this.
think this option is available when the DNS server is integrated with the Active Directory, and that's why the option is appear because it's copied the zones and everything in the Active Directory folder.
Let's do this. Let's show something. So let's
I
go.
mean, if you want to run a DNS server
Yeah,
as an individual server
yeah,
without any Active Directory, you don't see this option.
yeah. You mean if you want to create it without active? No, no, at all. We do. Actually, let's go. Let me show you something. If we go DNS server
I
here
don't think so.
and go next, and let's go install. So actually, primary and secondary, from my understanding, primary server and secondary server um, are for when you're not when you're not implementing a zone within Active Directory. So what that means is this. So if I have separate DNS server, I can have one that hosts a primary zone and one that hosts a secondary zone. Now, the one that hosts a secondary zone, I can't make changes on it. It can only replicate changes from a primary zone. So this machine right here is not a domain controller. So what we'll
But
do,
you cannot have any individual DNS server at the first place as a primary DNS server without any Active
we
Directory.
can for sure, 100% we can.
No, you can. You at the first place when you want to start and install Active Directory, it says
Yeah.
that you should have a DNS server,
Yeah, you should.
and it will install DNS server by itself
But you can
on that
decide
domain.
you can decide not to install it though.
But if you want to have a read-only domain controller,
Yeah, yes, why? So this
read-only.
thing. So if you have
I mean, if you have a read-only domain controller,
yeah,
you don't need DNS. But if you have a domain controller, you have DNS on it. You have to have DNS on it.
no, you don't have to. Absolutely not. So if you have an existing DNS server on your domain, if you have an existing DNS server on your domain, you can point your Active Directory or your first domain controller to use the existing DNS server. So all you need
So
to
if you
do,
have an existing domain DNS server in your domain, that
mm,
means you have an Active Directory
no,
and domain.
the first DNS server doesn't have to be an Active Directory server. The first DNS server can be a standalone server.
Hmm.
So
I've never done this before.
yeah, yeah. Let me go this one. So if you go server one now, so we just installed DNS, right?
Okay.
So let's go tools, DNS. I'll show you what I mean. So you go here, you go now. This is a DNS server by itself without any domain controller attached to it.
Okay.
So if I go new zone, next, I can make this a primary zone. I can go next and say you're the primary zone for red.com and go next. So it's gonna so you can create it without so all you need to do is point your Active Directory to this existing DNS server. So now you want to create a domain controller, you can point it, you can say, okay, I'm not, there's an option when you're installing Active Directory domain controller to say, because when you're doing it, actually, it will give you the option to to install DNS when you're installing Active Directory. The reason why is because it searches the network to see if it will find the DNS server. Have you ever noticed that? That when you're installing Active Directory, it gets to a point, it's like it's pausing, it's like it's searching the network and looks, can I see any DNS server? So when it doesn't see any DNS server, that's when it comes up with a message and says, okay, I can't see any DNS server on this network, so I need a DNS server to operate as Active Directory. So do you want to install DNS server on me now, or you want to stop right now, go install the DNS server first, and then come back?
But but
Yeah, carry on.
but
Sorry.
if the record and the zone that you are creating now,
Hmm.
for example, if you should address Active Directory at this moment here, and when it looks for that Active Directory, it will already, for example, find the red.com on it. So what will happen in that moment?
No, red dot.
It can't replace it.
No, red.
And it will tell you that you should create a secondary zone because it's already exists there.
Let's in fact let's go ahead and let's
For
do it.
example, adatom.com
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So now we'll get through this one, then we'll go back and let's do a quick lab of uninstalling Active Directory from DC1, and then we'll see whether we can do that or not. So let's do this one first.
No, I mean, for the primary zone, you should address an Active Directory for the primary zone. Do you agree?
It's not related to Active Directory at all.
So, go ahead with this primary zone and click
Mm.
next.
This one. So if I go
Yeah,
this one, primary zone, and click next.
yeah, just create, for example, adatom.com. That is already exists in the
Yeah,
Active Directory.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. Now
Yeah,
create the file.
yeah, for sure. Then what I can do is I can now go and configure replication from the header from the domain controller.
Okay.
Do you get it? I'm not sure if you get it. So primary zone, secondary zone, they're not referring to whether it's Active Directory integrated or not. Because you can actually, even on this one, if you go back to this one, you can remove this option to say store it in Active Directory. You can just create a standard primary zone without storing it in Active Directory at all. So primary zone simply means you can update it on the server. Secondary zone simply means you can't update it on this, you can't update the records on the server. This server only exists to replicate from a primary server. So in other words, if I go here and I go to launch server 1, back to launch server 1 here, we'll still come back to this one. Let me go delete this one and go new zone, next secondary zone, adatum.com, next. So now he's asking, which server do you want me to replicate from? So now if I put the IP address of launch server 1, oh sorry, long DC1, so that's 172.16.0.10. So I come here and I go 172.16.0.10. So it goes to talk to you, it finds it, and I go next, finish. But it still hasn't replicated anything. Anyone knows why it still hasn't replicated anything? Is there any reason why this has not replicated anything?
Primary one?
And so this is the new secondary one that we created. But it's not replicated. It can find the primary server, but it's not replicated anything from the primary server.
It doesn't have the authority to do that.
Exactly. So now, because otherwise, think of this, an attacker can come on your network, quickly create a secondary DNS server, and replicate all your records. So what you need to do is if you go under the primary server, you have to authorize it from this server. So does anyone want to take over the mouse and show us how to authorize it? Anyone wants to do that? So we want to authorize this secondary server so that it can replicate record from this primary server.
Yeah, it must be on the general tab.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right click.
Go ahead and do that. No, take over the mouse. So we'll see how to do that. Who is doing it? Who is volunteering to do that?
Okay, who is doing?
Yeah. So who's doing it now?
I think I can do it.
Yeah, carry on.
Let me do it.
So now you have to authorize it from this place. There's a place that we have to do. Yeah, it's yeah, you'll get it. I know. It's not complicated at all.
No, it wasn't here. It was here, I think.
And no, you just to give you a pointer, it will be from this at the level of the zone.
Yeah. Here in adatum.com.
Hello. Yeah. There you go.
And in the updates.
So what does this one even mean? So you're saying dynamic update, allow secure only. Okay, we'll come back to that one so as not to get things complicated. Yeah, no, actually you're close.
Yeah, here.
Exactly.
To all DNS servers running to all DNS servers running a domain controller. Yeah, here. This one.
Can you see there? So what do you have to change that to? So it said, how do you want zone data to be replicated? The option that is currently selected says, I want you to replicate to all DNS servers running on domain controllers in this domain.
Yeah.
So which means it will only replicate with an Active Directory integrated zone. If it's not Active Directory integrated, I'm not replicating with you.
I see.
Yeah. So you have to change that.
To here.
No, look at that option. It says to all DNS servers running on domain controllers in this forest. That's
Yeah, if I want to replicate to all domain controllers, yeah, I should choose this one. But if I want to all DNS servers running on domain controllers, this means the DNS servers integrated in the domain controllers.
Yeah.
And this one is to all domain controllers in this domain.
Okay. I think we're probably in the wrong tab. I think we are in the wrong tab. Yeah.
This is I think what we should.
Actually, I think we're in the wrong tab. I think we're probably looking for the tab that says zone transfers.
I'm making the replications.
Yeah. So if you go under zone transfer there at the top. So yeah, under that. So right click that, go under properties.
Okay.
Then go under zone transfers, the tab that says zone transfers. So if they allow zone transfer to any server, we don't want that because that's not secure. You can say only to the following server. So you can select that.
To DC1, yeah?
LON server 1. So LON SVR1.
SVR1.
If it doesn't recognize that, you may have to put in the IP address.
No, I can't type.
Shall I help you with that? I can help you with the @ sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, LON server 1 at. So yeah, because we're using US keyboard, sorry. Yeah, so it doesn't allow you to do that, so you have to put the IP address.
What is the IP address?
Let's ping it. Let's ping it from this server.
Okay, I will do that.
You can use partial. You can just click on the partial. Yeah. LON SVR1. So that's the IP 172.16.0.21. 172.16.0.21. Yeah. No, that's right. That's okay. Now, if you look at that, no, that looks like an error message, right? But look at what it's actually talking about. Look at this. It says this server is not authoritative. So it's not an error message. It's just saying this server with this IP address. Let me put this one on this. It said it's not authoritative for the required zone. So I know this looks scary because it's got a big red X next to it. But it's just telling you, well, this server is not authoritative for this zone. So if you go ahead and click OK to that. Yep. And then apply them.
Now what?
If you go back to LON server 1, see if you can replicate it yet. Oh, okay, hold on. I think there's something else that we need to do. If I remember properly, I think we need to add it to the name servers for this domain. So what we need to do is go under the start of authority. On the start of authority here. No, the SOA record.
Okay.
And add it. So there's a tab under SOA record that's called name servers tab. I think we need to add it to that tab also. So I'm trying to remember this from what we did in the labs when we did the labs. So SOA record, first record. Yeah. So name servers tab.
Okay.
There. Yeah. And then add the server there.
What is this one? LON dash
SVR1.
SVR1 @
I can help you with that, yeah. Let me help you with that. Server 1 yeah. Come on.
Addison.com.
Or you can go click OK. Let's go launch server 1. Does it resolve it? Yeah, there you go. Okay. So click OK. Go under zone transfers here also and see, just see what it says. So go back on that SOA record. I'm not sure. Go back on the SOA record.
SPA record.
Yep. Under zone transfers there. And let's just see what that says. So allow zone transfers. Yeah, okay. So that's good. Okay. So now go back and refresh launch server 1 and it should be able to replicate the zone now. So launch server 1, you have to go down to the host and select change the virtual machine.
I can see the whole. Oh, let me make a bigger screen. Okay.
Yeah. And no, it's right. It's already open down there next to Google Chrome. Yeah. Learn SVR1. And then if you refresh this, hopefully you should be able to, you should start transferring all the records for the zone.
I'm refreshing. I'm putting F5.
So right click on it and refresh it. Yeah, that one is good also. Yep, there we go. So now we've authorized a secondary server. But here's the thing. Try to create a record on this server. Just try to create a record called test and see what happens. Can you see? Can you see that? You can't create a record on this zone. Does anyone know why you can't create a record for this zone? Oh, sorry, on
Because
this
it's a
server.
secondary one.
Exactly, because it's a secondary server. So primary server means you can edit the records for this zone from this server. Secondary means I'm not going to be editing anything. I'm just going to be replicating whatever my primary server tells me. You get the point? So that's the whole point about primary or
But at the
secondary.
first place,
Yeah.
you create a primary zone here, but it's somehow it changed to secondary zone.
No, I changed it to second. I deleted it. So I went there, right-clicked on it, and deleted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't see that.
just to get you happy, so that you you know we'll actually do like a
No,
lab.
I'm okay.
We'll actually do.
I am telling that because I've never done this before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You because if I go, let me go.
I always use the integrated ones.
Yeah.
And
Let
don't
me
use the
one.
and create the secondary ones and make them replicate with each other.
Yeah.
I
Actually,
never
yeah.
create a primary zone in an independent
Yeah.
DNS server.
Can I take over? I'm not sure why I can take over the mouse again. Hey, hello, Jenny. Right. Okay. I think it's done what it usually does. I think it's hanged on us. Launch server 1. Come on, launch server 1. We need you. Okay, yeah, it's responding now. So what I'll do, just to show you what I mean, is I'll delete this whole zone. Delete it completely. It's gone. Gone forever. So the other thing the other thing that we'll do is let's remove this machine from the domain. So let's say this machine, you're not even part of like any domain at all. We want to create a new domain on you. If I had another server, that would have been good. But if I go, yeah, let's just remove it from the domain. Change settings, change. You're not part of any domain. You're part of a work group. Okay, okay. Come on. Out of the work group, out of the domain. So just quickly, yeah. Okay, wants us to restart. Let's quickly restart. And close, restart now. So once it comes back on, the thing we'll try to do is try to create a new domain. We'll call it contoso.com. And then just to show the part where it's actually looking for an existing DNS server on the domain. So you don't have to have a domain so again, whenever you see Active Directory, whenever you see primary zone, secondary zone, it has nothing to do with Active Directory. It's talking about primary means you can head it, secondary means you can head it, you can only replicate. Then Active Directory integrated zone, what that means is that you're saying, I want you to store this record inside ntds.date. Because actually I forgot to show you that one. Because actually, if you have a server, whether primary or secondary, that is not Active Directory integrated, it actually creates a different record. It actually created like a different. So if I go just to show you the location in case you need it at some point later. So let's go DC1 connects to DC1. Yeah. So under C system Windows 32 DNS folder, you'll find the place where it stores your DNS record if you've not made it Active Directory integrated. But this is not responding anymore. Yeah, just go back to launch server 1. Okay, yeah, we're back on launch server 1 now. So let's quickly go password and let's scroll down. Server manager will start up anyway. Okay, so while we're talking about that, let's just quickly try to conclude for today. Stop zone. So what about the last one, stop zone? It's one of those names that sound complicated, but they are not, or it's actually not complicated. But it's one of the other names that we IT people like to throw around. You know, I just created the stop zone for the place, and everybody's like, you're a really intelligent person. Stop zone is like really big. So stop zone, what is stop zone? They don't want to break stop zones down so that we are not afraid of stop zone anymore. So whenever we hear stop zone, we know exactly what it means. Anyone? Any volunteers for stop zone? I mean, you've been much quiet today. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I didn't do much preparation, to be honest. That's why I'm a bit quiet.
Mhm.
We leave that one to you. You can explain the stub zone.
No, someone, come on, please, someone. Aronica, come on. Stefan. Ali,
stop
come on,
zone.
help us. Yeah, carry on, Stefan.
I would say it's like a partial copy of a primary in the sense of um, it's got, well, what according to what I read, it's got only the key resource of a named servers.
Yeah,
And
just for mentioning the word key resource, you have 15
yeah.
points. Yeah.
So my guess, it has got only the key resource like name servers and
Mm,
nothing more about what other zones included and other stuffs regarding the records
nice one.
themselves.
Yeah. So just to break down what Stefan just said, this is what Stefan just explained. So Stefan is one of our complicated guys that likes to make. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. No. So this is what Stefan just explained to us. So now you have a server here, and this server hosts the DNS record for a zone called adatum.com. Now, you have maybe this other um, zone that's also part of your network, and you have a DNS server for it, and that DNS server is hosting the record for contoso.com. But the thing is, you want people in adatum.com to be able to go ping dc1.contoso.com and for them to be able to resolve ping dc1.contoso.com. But the thing is, contoso.com is inside your internal network. It's not on the internet. Assuming it's on the internet, what will happen is this. You have your little guy here called the forwarder, whose job is to forward DNS requests on your behalf to the dirty internet. And then you have servers on the internet, lots of them. They call them root servers or routines, whatever, root servers. Yeah. So assuming contoso.com is on the internet, what will happen is your DNS server, your machine will go, oh, I want to ping dc1.contoso.com. It will go to this guy here. This guy goes, I have no idea what contoso.com is. That means you must be on the internet. So what I'll just do is I'll just forward you to my forwarder, and the forwarder gets it, and the forwarder is like, yeah, you're looking for contoso.com. I have no idea where that is, but I'll forward you to the root servers. So it goes to the root servers. But the thing is that there's no contoso.com on the internet. So eventually it goes around, uses your bandwidth, then come back and tells you, okay, I can't find contoso.com. Because contoso.com is on the internal network, it's not on the outside network. So what you can do is configure this and say on this one, since this one can talk to this one by IP, you can say on this one, I'm creating a stop zone for you for contoso.com. And what that means is that you will contain the, like what Stefan said, the key record. You contain the name server record for contoso.com. So in other words, you have the address of the DNS server of contoso.com. You have the address of the SOA of contoso.com. So that if anyone comes to me from my network and says, I want to talk to this guy here called some yeah, okay, I'll just continue anyway. I want to talk to this guy here called contoso.com. What will happen is this guy goes, okay, hold on, I have a zone for contoso.com. But that zone does not contain all the record of contoso.com. It only contains the DNS server of contoso.com. But by knowing that information, it knows I can send this traffic to this guy here, and this guy can tell me what I need to know. Do you get the point? I'm not sure if that's clear. Is that clear at all?
Wait, can we say it's like a redirection?
Exactly. It's like a redirection. So it's like that's absolutely correct. Absolutely accurate. You can say, so it's like a redirection. So it's like I don't actually have the record for contoso.com, but I have the record for the DNS server for contoso.com. I have the record for the SOA of contoso.com. So I know where to forward you to if you want anything resolved for contoso.com. And people use this all the time, people that have multiple domains on their internal network. I'm not sure if is
Okay.
that clear. Does anyone have questions about that, or is that clear?
Is it something like not exactly, but it's kind of like ARP, address resolution protocol, where it has IP address and name in front of it. But it's not exactly like that, but it does something like that.
It's not exactly like that. It's not like that because like what easiest way to understand is like what I wish I have. Okay, let me share my screen with you. Oh no, this is not good. No, it's not. No, I wanted to share something. I wanted to share my screen with you so you can see how it is on our internal network in the office. But that's not good because my company is a big company and I don't want you guys who knows whether Ali is an hacker. And Ali is like, yeah, I got all the information in it. No, that's joking. So,
No, I'm
so,
not that kind.
so, so I won't share the screen. But let's see if we okay. Yeah. The best thing that will have happened is for us to be able to show it, but we don't have any stop zones yet. Um, okay, let's do this one first. So, Ali, if you look at this one now, you notice that there's no DNS installed, right? Just ADDS, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely no DNS. So if I close that, I can go here and promote the server to a domain controller. Now during the promotion phase, someone is moving the mouse. Let's go back here. During the promotion phase, it's like, yeah, so what do you want to do? I'm like, okay, I want to add a new forest. This is not something that exists before. I want to call this forest red.com. So if I go next, so forest functional level recovery password. Come on, no, you can't do this. Okay, yeah, it's still doing something. That's why. Yeah, okay, still doing something. That's okay. Yeah, there we go. So let's give it password, and let's go next. So now it says specify DNS delegation options. It says a delegation for the DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. How does it know the authoritative parent zone cannot be found? You know why? It's looked
What?
on the network. It's looked on
Okay.
the network. I'm looking for an existing DNS server for red.com. Any authoritative DNS server for red.com. It's like, yeah, it doesn't exist. So I'm sorry, you have to either create me as a DNS server, or your option is, first of all, go configure. If I had like the resource, I could have actually downloaded just a mini DNS server on this one. So if he sees that, it's like, yeah, sure, there's an existing DNS server. That's all I need. I don't need to be the DNS server. But once it's like, oh, I've searched, I cannot find an authoritative DNS server. And do you know the reason why it's looking for an authoritative DNS server? Because it's like I need to add my SRV record, right? My
Yeah.
service record. So people know if they want to join the domain, they know who to talk to. I need to add that to a DNS server. So it doesn't mean I need to be the DNS server, but there must be a place that I can add that record. I'm not sure if that's clear. You get the point, right? So you absolutely can create a domain controller without installing DNS on it. If it finds this one, it won't be showing you this option.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
at the first place, you should create a DNS server
yes,
somewhere
yes,
without a domain server.
yes. But the thing is, again, Microsoft's recommendation, always use Active Directory integrated DNS server because it just saves you a lot. Because look at the way we configured replication the other time for secondary server. If you just create standalone DNS server, that's the way you have to go and manually configure replication And if you want it to be secure, you have to manually configure IPsec. But the thing is, if you integrate it with Active Directory, it just works with Active Directory replication. So
Okay.
I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I really wish we can. I mean, we've just been, but I really enjoyed the discussion today. I tell you, I learned a lot of things, like the two articles that you brought up. Really, really useful. And the one that Ali brought up and the one that Stefan brought up. So unfortunately we won't be able to go on further before my wife gets angry at home. Yeah, otherwise you just be like, David just disappeared from the community page. What happened? She's kidnapped me or something. So before she gets upset, yeah, we'll have to stop there today. So the recording will be up shortly. And then next week, if we try to prepare ahead, next week we'll be discussing Active Directory. And I tell you, next week, I'm actually going to be challenging you a lot because many people think they understand Active Directory. But next week, hopefully, if you prepare, you'll find out that you understand it. If you don't prepare, you'll be surprised at many things that you don't know about Active Directory. Like when we were talking, like the other time that we ran something like that, I'm not sure if Stefan already joined by then, and we are talking about things like containers, and people are like, it looks like an OU, but it's not an OU. What's this thing called a container? Like what's the difference between an OU and a container? What's like all the many things that many people think they know about Active Directory, but they don't know. So next week we're discussing Active Directory, and then the week after we're discussing the final section, which is group policy. So have fun, guys. Nice hanging out with you guys. I really enjoyed today. Really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, David, for your time.
No problem, man. No problem, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Thank you so much,
Enjoy
Mr.
it.
David.
No problems, guys. No
Okay.
problems. Yeah.
Thanks, David. Have a nice
So yeah,
evening.
yeah. You too, man. See you next week.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
See you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Have a good night there.
Yeah. You too.